Alrighty, and with us this week is Mr. ChinDocta himself,
How's it going, guys?
and of course, I'm Planting42. This week, we're reviewing quite the interesting game. Actually, it's a collection of three, to be precise. It's Amnesia Collection, published and developed by Frictional Games on the 28th of September, 2018, for 29.99. It's a survival horror. I would definitely agree with TA's categorization there because it's definitely a little creepy.
Yep,
Um,
definitely.
time estimate. Yeah, oh yeah. Time estimate. I don't know. 15, 20, maybe a little more. It depends on if you're using guides for the whole thing or not. There's
Yeah,
some stuff that's very well hidden.
yep, some confusing puzzles and
Um,
stuff.
and that, yeah, I think
Yes.
we'll get into the puzzle a little bit. The plot of this. I only actually played two of the three games. I played Dark Descent, well, maybe two-thirds of, and Justine, which is a DLC. I guess it was originally a mod. You were telling me that a player did, and they ended up releasing it as a free DLC later on, or they sold it and gave the proceeds away. And then they did a sequel, which I guess isn't really so much a sequel, other than it's just kind of in the same engine, in the same vein.
Yeah.
And there's lots of pigs.
Yeah, definitely fits the name for sure. Pigs galore.
um, it seems to be a common theme from the first two games. There's lots of pigs and pig masks. I don't know why, but obviously someone loves pigs. But the gist of it is you kind of wake up in a dark cellar with no real memories about yourself, and you have to navigate this dark and mysterious castle. You kind of soon learn that you deliberately erased your own memories and then proceed to collect your diaries to kind of figure out why you're there and what you were doing. I don't know, it's very kind of
It's
almost supernatural on top of like the freakiness. Sorry, you were saying?
yeah, yep. And it's hard to go into the story, like the plot, without giving so much of the story away, which really is key in the game. Is that
No.
learning what's happened and telling too much of the story will ruin all that for people, unfortunately.
Exactly, like, which is that's pretty much all I can really tell you is like, yeah, this is what's going on, and you pretty much have to read these notes, which I mean, you need to for an achievement anyways. So you might as well at least read them as you go through it, and just kind of figure out what the whole backstory is. There's this weird biological goo that grows as you move through the game and damages you if you stick around. So when it starts kind of getting around you, just run through it. And then
Yeah,
there's
yep.
monsters, some of which have really good hearing,
Oh
and then
yeah.
there's that stupid water monster that you can't even see, and you don't want to be in the water.
No,
There's some
not
strange stuff
fun.
in this game. Yeah, it's like things get crazy pretty
Well,
fast. Yeah, basically, yeah, just
yeah.
read your notes and piece together what's happening. Um, Justine is kind of along the same vein. You play a female who wakes up in the dungeon, and you're guided by phonographs that kind of tell you that you're in a test. And then there's
Yep.
some puzzle rooms with multiple ways of solving the puzzles. And the
Yep.
endings that you get, of which there's several, depend on the way you make your choices in these puzzle rooms. And there's one hell of a twist at the end of that thing.
Yeah. Very, very good. Very. Definitely don't see it coming for the most part.
Yeah, not
So,
I mean
I
maybe,
mean,
yeah, maybe if you read
yeah.
everything you'd find this, but I totally did not see it coming. I'm like, wait, what?
Mate, if you guess it
I get to
right from
play
the
this again.
start, yeah,
Yeah.
if you guess it right from the start, and that's what you're thinking the entire way through, you might see it. But really, yeah, it should be a good twist for most people.
Oh yeah. Achievements for the game. Sorry, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the plot of
A
Machine
Machine
for
for Pigs.
Pigs. If
Uh,
yeah,
I didn't get a chance to play it. I've been a little bit busy, so I really only played Justine, and it's been a while since I watched the playthrough of it. I mean, I got the gist of the gameplay. The mechanics are pretty much the same. The controls are just as clunky by the looks of
mhm.
it, which was something I found quite early in Justine. Was that I mean, maybe you were used to it at that point, but they were kind of clunky and didn't really, at least for me, feel suited to a controller.
No, agreed. It definitely you can tell this was a port.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
Moving on from that, though, the achievements are I mean, they're all pretty straightforward. Most of the Dark Descent is going to be main story stuff. There's a couple different ways you can finish the game, and those relate to different endings, which have achievements tied to them. There's also achievements for picking up all of the tinder boxes, which are, I guess, a collectible, but a usable collectible, because you use them to light candles and stuff in the room so that you don't go insane because darkness is bad for you. Finding all of the notes in all of the games is an achievement. Quitting out as soon as you get through the opening cutscene in the Dark Descent is an achievement, which I enjoy. It does. I like that because I didn't intend to get that when I first played it, and I was just like, no, I'm going to save this for later in the daytime, and I'll dive it some other time. And the achievement parts, I'm like,
Pop.
oh, perfect, cool. As for Justine, there's one achievement for, I think it's a collectible. Like, there's notes
More
that
or
you still
less.
need to grab for
Yeah.
the overall, but there's one specific collectible in this game that you need to get, and then 3 different ending achievements for depending on what you did during the game. Whether we'll just sort of spoil it, whether you killed everyone or didn't kill anyone. We won't go into more than that. And looks pretty straightforward in Machine for Pigs. They all seem to be main storyline, so you're guaranteed to get them. Aside from, again, the notes, which is across all 3 games, and the final achievement for playing on hard mode in the Dark Descent.
Yeah, worth noting, Dark Descent is going to be a minimum of 2 playthroughs. One, if you assuming that your first playthrough you pick up all the tinder boxes, and the second one you did on hard, because when you
Mm-hmm.
play on
Yep.
hard, you have less tinder boxes, and your
Yes.
tinder
Yep.
boxes are used to save, to make manual saves. Which
Yeah.
I don't know if I would find that overall difficult if that's really the only changes, because I think I ended with like, or at least where I am right now in the game, I'm sitting on like 40 tinder boxes. It's pretty
Yeah.
silly.
So the solution says that if you drop to 0 sanity, you die. No auto saves. There's less oil in tinder boxes. The monsters are obviously faster and see you quicker and hang around for longer. And there's also no danger music when a monster is near.
Oh,
Yet,
okay,
so
that would throw me.
yeah, yes. And then dying goes to back to your last save. So, um, I mean, nothing too crazy, but it is definitely a step up from the standard playthrough.
Okay, so it's harder. Plus, you're going to get
Yeah.
nerfed in the way saves work, and you're going to get nerfed in the way you can, because the game basically trains you to listen to audio cues, which I guess I should mention the
Yes.
gameplay. But anyway, the game trains you to learn to listen to the audio for what's going on, and when you hear changes, when you hear things ramp up, you know it's going to get ramped up, and you need to get ready for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That would throw me. That'll be a fun achievement.
Yeah. Definitely. That's pretty much it for achievements. They're all, yeah. They're not bad. I can definitely see this as a doable list, except for maybe that hard mode achievement. I mean, I'm definitely going to do that in the daytime with all the
Yeah,
lights
and
on and happy music playing.
another thing you could do is, kind of cheat a little bit, turn the gamma up. That way you don't hunt quite so badly for things, and it's not quite so much a scare when stuff jumps
Yeah.
at you, I suppose.
Yeah, I did that. I think it's a different scary because when you can see everything, you see everything. It's a little bit different with the gamma turned all the way up. At least it's a jump
True.
scare, and not you're seeing it coming towards you and knowing you can do nothing.
I guess it's worth mentioning. So for the gameplay of this game, it's very simple first-person controls, and there's some kind of light puzzle solving, especially at least in Dark Descent. It's light puzzle solving. It's mostly more
Hmm.
adventuring and picking up things. Not all puzzles are as intuitive as you'd really like. Like I mentioned, I'm currently stuck in what's probably one of the first actual puzzles, if not the first puzzle, of the pigs game. Just because it doesn't make sense. You get this bizarro phone call, and then you have to do something, and there's no way I would figure this out. And this kind of falls back to some of the other weirder positional puzzles where you've got to look in one room and go, okay, this is how things are hanging in this room. I need to make this room be a mirror. Okay, that one was probably one of the easier ones, actually.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's some other ones like, well, for instance, one of the puzzles in Justine that I probably wouldn't have actually got unless I read the notes and then read the notes again and then read the notes a third time, maybe.
Hmm.
The only way that you would perhaps make it through with at least one of the endings is if you do use a guide. Um, I don't know. The notes are kind of it's a collectible in the game, but in the same respect, they also provide a lot of backstory and they allow for progression, which is good to mention, I guess, about your sanity. Your sanity is your mental state. If you stand in the darkness too long, or if you see monsters, or you see kind of supernatural things, um, you start feeling all tense, and you can see this visually by the screen becoming shaky and dim.
Yep.
And
And
the
you'll
only way to
start
kind of
hearing things and
exactly and the only way to kind of advance past it is to stand in the light or light something near you, like a torch or a candle or whatever, and try to make progress, solve the puzzle you're on, and then your mental state will improve. And the way I kind of compared it was like, if you were really in this situation and all these things are kind of going wrong and then you're seeing crazy stuff, you're going to be quickly building up this craziness in your head. And the only way that
yeah,
you can
yeah.
really release that and get back to normal is to, okay, yeah, I solved that. All right. Phew. It makes perfect sense. I kind of like the way they actually implemented that whole system.
Hmm. Yeah, and the game itself has a very, I, I almost want to say rhythmic. It's puzzle section, monster section, puzzle section, monster section. You rarely, at least early on, will get them both at the same time. It's very clear. Okay, this is a puzzle section. I can relax a little bit. I'm not going to get chased at any point. I can just work on this puzzle. And then there's a monster section, and okay, it's not going to be too difficult. It's usually just find a thing in a room and take it to the other place you need to go. And it's clear, what you're doing. It's not some confusing nonsense.
True. I'm
It's,
very grateful for the way they did the monster rooms.
yeah, at least early on. It's towards it.
Yeah.
I think the ending, I'm not sure if you're there yet. It's very much both.
Um, I don't know. There's some that, according to the guide, were supposed to be relatively difficult that I really didn't have issues with, and there's others that apparently seemed like they were relatively simple that I ended up dying 4 or 5 times in. So
Yeah.
I guess it all depends on the way you approach those kind of games. I'm more of a go into every room, explore everything, which I think is bad for me in some respects because I think they kind of want to build a sense of urgency, and so they're kind of pushing you from one spot to another, which I
Hmm.
might not have been doing, which is probably why I kept running into monsters.
Yep. I'm very much hiding in the corner and then quitting the game and playing something else. It's usually my strategy with these ones, but no,
Worth
yeah,
mentioning, hiding in the corner is really all you can do because there's no fighting controls. If you come
oh,
across a monster, you have two options: hide or run. Probably
yep,
run
and
and then hide.
yeah, they mentioned this in the death tip screen, just pointing that out. That some of those tips are pretty useful. They know what their
uh,
audience is doing wrong, but
you're dying. Why? Well, because we're playing. Wow, pretty much everything can be picked up and moved around. It's kind of a cool mechanic, and they do use it in a couple places for helping you reach places that were previously inaccessible.
yeah, yeah,
Building a
lots of
ladder in
box jumping and
Justine, or
yeah,
getting to the item that I kept getting for no real reason. Um, there's a few spots like that in Dark Descent as well, where you kind of build some
yeah.
boxes up to get up platforms.
Like
Um,
every so often you think, oh, I'm definitely breaking the game. This can't be intended, and then the story progresses, and you're like, oh no, that's how you're meant
it
to do it. You
actually,
went,
and I really appreciate when devs do this. They have a developer's commentary you can turn on for Dark Descent, and which kind of appear as little cogs in the game that you can interact
oh
with.
yeah,
And as you go through the game, and at one point they actually start talking about like all the boxes and how you can interact with them. I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'll do. I'll start throwing things around to see what I can do with it. And yeah, it was kind of cool that they actually designed the game with that in mind. That people were gonna find ways to pile up stuff to get into places, and they actually put things there. Which
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
more tinder boxes and stuff you got to remember to look for. The biggest thing I found lacking in this game, actually, is the fact that you cannot get back to the overall title screen. So if you were playing Justine and wanted to go back to one of the other two games, you got to quit the game and reload it. I
Hmm.
don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Yeah. Again, it definitely feels like it was a not necessarily a hurried port, but it wasn't designed for an Xbox, really, and then little things
Exactly.
like that
I mean,
where
the
uh,
interface isn't bad. I mean, you're moving a mouse around, so it's as you would expect for kind of like a port of a PC title.
yeah,
But I mean,
and it looks about as good as it did in the day, which now is not great. But I mean, that's kind of one of the good things about horror games. When they start looking too good, it gets into that weird uncanny valley. It's not really scary; it's just weird kind of thing. So having it sort of look a little bit low, sort of low quality, enhances the scariness, in my opinion.
oh, I would definitely agree. I mean, if it was very bright and vibrant, it wouldn't have the same creepy vibe that it does right now.
Hmm.
So yeah, although it is definitely a slightly dated port, it's got a
Yeah,
good solid story. The gameplay is solid for the most part, and it definitely accomplishes that creepy vibe. So yeah, Amnesia
yeah,
Collection did the trick for me. I think it's a little steep on the price. Maybe wait for a small discount if $30 is too much for you. But I mean, you're getting 2.5 games really
two and a
out of
half. Yeah,
this. I mean,
yeah,
it's not bad. I really am enjoying what I've done. Justine is well worth playing just to get the twist to it. Um, yeah, I'd say it's worth two thumbs up.
yeah. Definitely. Even though this is not my style of game, it is a sort of classic title in the jump scare sort of more recent Steam games, and it's good. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Even if you don't like this game, it's probably worth it on a maybe a $10 discount.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like I say, I'm appreciative at the value it's at, but yeah, I could definitely see perhaps waiting for a small discount. Yeah, that's the Amnesia Collection.